All right. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Hannah Crapeau, and I'm the Content Marketing Manager here at Certiport. We're so happy to have everyone joining us for our first Certified Academy webinar of 2025. Please feel free, let me actually, while we're just doing that, I'm going to open up the chat here so everyone can tell us where you're joining us from, what classes you teach, what you're hoping to learn today. Please feel free to also use the chat to drop in any questions that you have for our panelists. We're so excited to be able to have hopefully a very lively discussion. We are recording this. I know I've had quite a few questions come in about that. So if you're not able to join us for our full session or just curious if you'll be able to have access to the recording later on, yes, we'll be emailing that after our session has wrapped up this afternoon. I did want to give a quick shout out to our session sponsors. This is being co-sponsored by two of our certification programs, the Adobe Certified Professional Program and the Meta Certified Digital Marketing Associate Program. Success in the digital age means communicating in visually rich and interactive ways and connecting with the right communities to help businesses grow. So with a firm grasp on the world's most powerful creative and social tools, these two programs can help your students and learners make their mark. So I'll drop in shortly as we're kind of doing introductions, some links into the chat for those who want to learn a little bit more about these programs. And today we're going to be talking about, of course, empowering the marketers, entrepreneurs, and creators that you have in your classroom today. We have some incredible panelists I'm so excited to be able to chat more with. We have Erin, Jenny, and Jody, and we'll do some quick introductions here shortly. But these are three incredible educators who span the full spectrum of CTE, career and technical education. So without further ado, I'm actually going to go ahead and just stop sharing really quickly. And we'll do a round robin of introductions. Jenny, can you go ahead and kick us off? Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you teach.
Hi guys, my name is Jenny Mohes and I teach graphic design. Our program is actually a college articulated program to Valencia College. So I teach at the high school level and at the college level. And I teach full Adobe Suite, do all of our Adobe certifications. And I've been actually teaching at the high school for 7 years. First time teaching high school when I landed here. So that's when we brought the program, the college program. But I've been teaching at Valencia for 16 years part-time, and then I went full-time. My background is really being a graphic designer, so working in the field. I worked for Apple for 8 years. I was there, fortunately, to launch an iPhone, which we all have today. And then, I left Apple after 8 years and went to Microsoft. And just great overall corporate experience, and then having my own business. And then I really found a passion in teaching and mentoring young people in what we do in this industry. And I'm here, I'm fortunate to work with Certiport and with the whole certified conference last year. And I'm going to leave you on this note. I was excited to learn about the Educator of the Year award. So that was a pretty big deal. And I'm so excited to be here with you guys to share some knowledge today.
Amazing, Jenny. Thank you so much. Erin, we'll come to you next.
All right, guys, my name is Aaron Donnell. I'm currently in Crossville, Tennessee. I teach at Cumberland County High School. I am teaching marketing and management, computer science, coding, and cybersecurity. And then in my spare time, I am the FBLA and DECA advisor here at the high school. This is my 9th year teaching. We just recently relocated to Tennessee from Florida. I started down in Manatee County, and it was a middle school business program there. So kind of just fell right into the business and management and the marketing side when we got here to Tennessee. I came from the business world, so I did the alternative certification pathway, and I always loved the training aspect of working with people and being able to teach new things. And an opportunity came up to do that with kids, and absolutely fell in love with it and haven't looked back since. So.
I love that both of you are talking about in your free time, which we know is non-existent. We're very grateful that you're taking time out of your busy days to be here with us. And our last but certainly not least, Jody, will have you introduce yourself as well.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jody Jasmine Pellini. I am located here at a high school in Palos Heights, Illinois, which is the south suburbs of Chicago. I've been an educator for 24 years and in CTE, and I used to be a TV reporter. So similar, I came from the corporate world, from the real world, as we say, and then fell into teaching. And similar to Aaron, never looked back. And 24 years later, I'm still teaching digital media. We have at my school, freshmen through seniors can take introduction to media production. And then we have digital media, advanced media. We have a little bit of work-based learning. We're working with the Palos Heights TV station here in the area. About maybe 5 or 6 years, we started certification with Certiport in our media programs. We've been doing it longer in the business classes, and mostly Adobe Premiere and Adobe Photoshop, a little bit of Illustrator, the kids that want to try it. And then my first time going to the certified conference was last year, and that's when I learned about certification for Meta and Adobe Express. So now we're incorporating more marketing skills into our digital media classes, like making commercials in order that we can prepare them to take the test. So this is our first year we're piloting the program to see if our students can achieve certification in marketing, and then hopefully we'll continue it in years moving forward.
Amazing. Thank you, Jody. And you've leaned me right into our next topic. So I wanted to just introduce what we're discussing today. Of course, we're talking about creators, storytellers, marketers, entrepreneurs. I think all of those titles weave in really naturally together. Why do we think it's important to empower students with knowledge that crosses these kind of different career areas of focus? So Jody, we'll come to you first.
Well, I think all would agree that, the students learn best when we give them, when they do. So I say in my class, we do more than we know, and we prove what we do, what we know. So I think by, giving them some real world experience, like in my class, we create a marketing campaign. So not just making the commercial, but thinking through logo design, looking at competition and opposition research, to really plan what would be like as a marketer in the real world, whether it's advertising or social media marketing, but having them to understand all of the steps that go along into it, that certification is not just an exam. It really encompasses skills and concepts and objectives, as well as the how to use the software or the vocabulary. And I think that by learning it that way, they really get a grasp of what we expect them to know in the real world.
I love that. I think it's all about that kind of seamless transition right into the workplace. So being able to say it's not just a 6-week project that we're having them do and then it's done. It's being able to look at the whole picture. So I think, Jody, that's phenomenal. Aaron, any thoughts that you wanted to add to that as well?
Being able to cross over all of those different planes. One of the big things in the business, in the business or the corporate world is flexibility and adaptability, and learning how to work with people that may not be exactly like you. So I push that hard in my classroom. As far as the marketing, say we're designing a logo. I have kids who are amazing with pencil and paper, and not so much on the computer, and kids that can sit down with Adobe and rock out this amazing design. Well, I put them together, and not only do they learn to communicate with each other and bounce ideas off each other, but at the end, in the end, it come out with a better product. So it kind of wraps into that being flexible, and then communication skills. I mean, those, they're, in my opinion, they're lacking a lot. So as many times as I can mesh my kids together, it really, in the long run, it definitely helps them out.
Well, and it goes back to what we've already kind of talked about. It's not just a silo that people are going to be operating in once they go into the workforce. I mean, I've worked from home for over a decade, and still every day I'm connecting with members of my team. So there has to be that baseline level of communication and cooperation. So I love that, helping students see their strengths, but then also leveraging and working together is such an important skill set. Jenny, I see you nodding along as well, so I wanted to get your thoughts too.
Well, it's funny because all of what we do here kind of tie in with what everybody is saying. And I saw that need a few years ago when we went into the pandemic, right? And then what we did when everybody kind of came back, those were my kids that opened up the school. And that was our first 4-year senior class. And so when we decided to open up what you see behind me here, which is the graphic design agency. And it's the first agency in our district. But it's actually a classroom, right? Which any one of us here can turn your classroom into a workspace. So my actual classroom is in front of me, and I'm in the middle, like where my desk is in the middle of both spaces. So for the past few years, we've kind of refined it, and to talk about this creator and storyteller and marketing kind of aspect is that we created roles. So in the senior year, they're doing their resumes, they're doing their different areas. It's a more of a workspace. So we have creative directors, we have assistant creative directors, we have content creators, because it's changing as we're going, right? Like when we first started, I didn't have content creators because that really wasn't what it was called back then. We didn't have AI, so I have different teams. So when we're doing a project, so for example, we did some art boxes for the city of Kissimmee. They're the ones that are working with the graphic designers and the senior graphic designers to document everything that we're doing so that we can have a full documentation, and they can put that on their resume, because it's real world experience. And I think, that ties into what Erin and Jody is talking about, that real world experience, because the kids today want that. They want that on their resume, and coming out of high school to be able to have those types of experiences, I think is important.
I completely agree. And I think you've dovetailed really nicely into what I wanted to talk about next. We're seeing how these fields mesh more and more. And as someone who works in marketing, I'm very lucky to be able to work with some amazing creators, people who do the design work that we leverage every day. But I think there are skills that are still required, depending obviously on the area of marketing or the creative field that you decide to go into. So what are the skills that your learners need to be these business leaders, creative thinkers of this next generation? Jenny, will come to you first to get your thoughts.
So I think like the skills, and they have to be able to collaborate. And I think Erin mentioned this earlier. Different people, different skill sets, right? Um, I'm gonna give you a very specific example of inclusion. This past 2 weeks ago, we did a job with our ESC program. So the graphic design team and the ESC team, which is our exceptional student program, and they were able to come up with uh a whole I don't have the book here, but it's a hardcover book, and we submitted it to get it published, where they were able to collaborate with these self-contained kids, right? And they were able to write, and they were able to draw and express their life as a tiger. And so our team, my senior class team, came up with that collaboration where they were able to execute with this team. And these kids are in a classroom, all day long. They're not in general population. So, every year we try to do something, and that collaboration is important because these kids are they are so smart. They were able to write a story with the help of my kids. They were able to draw and express what they were doing. And then our design team and the content, they took everything and we put it together in the book. My creative director just brought it over. So this is an example of what the book will look like, but it's a hard copy book where they collaborated, and they're gonna make a book. And these kids are now gonna see this book come to fruition and the impact that it's gonna have on their lives forever, right? So I think those skills and collaboration and bringing in the technical expertise, bringing in all those pieces together, I that also ties into real world experiences.
Agreed. And being able to have something like that on their resume in their portfolio. What an amazing thing to be able to bring into a job interview as well. Erin, any thoughts from you on the skills? I know you've touched on collaboration as well. Any additional skills that you think are important to highlight?
Problem solving. So I purposely will leave directions out of something that we're doing, so to make them work through it. For example, one of the things I start every semester with is if your life was an album cover, what would it look like? You can design it on the computer, on paper, pencil, whatever you're comfortable with. And as soon as you don't put them in a box and say you have to do A, B, C, D, like they're mind blown. And you'll have a couple of kids who run with it, but the majority of them will struggle for a few days because I won't tell them, exactly what size, what color, what to use. I make them problem solve it. And I do that, throughout the year with this is what the end game is. This is what I want it to look like. Now let's figure it out, work backwards, and that problem solving is probably, at least in my opinion, one of the biggest skills that will affect them in every aspect of their life.
Yeah, we're not going to be spoon feeding as soon as they're on the job, right?
Right.
It's going to be important to be
Absolutely.
able to say, all right, I know the end deliverable that I need. What are the steps
Right.
that I need to make to get it there? I love that. Jody, any additional thoughts? I know you teach more of the video kind of production side of things. What are your thoughts as far as the skills that are necessary?
Well, I think I would just piggyback on the problem solving, troubleshooting skills. We have a project where students are paired with a business in the community. We work with our Chamber of Commerce. And so normally we start from the beginning and they come up with the ideas and they storyboard and they plan it. But now we say, here's a business, it's a restaurant. You're going to have to contact them, schedule a time, have some ideas in mind, but they're your client. You're going to listen to them and see what they say. So again, it's that same thing when we're not spoon feeding them the steps. They're going to have to figure it out on their own, on the fly, which is not easy to do, and then work with a client. So then that troubleshooting, that problem solving, and the communication skills that Jenny talked about are just so crucial. And now here it is, and I'm not there with them. So now they're going to have to figure out how to, and I know we use COVID as an excuse and a reason, but it is, these post-COVID kids don't know how to talk to each other anymore. And they don't know how to be in these situations that are uncomfortable. So it's kind of throwing them in the fire, but it teaches them, like, this is what you're going to do in the real world.
So I wanted to just highlight a question that was dropped into the chat because I'm curious as well. For Jody and Erin's comments, do we have the same level of expectations when it's an entry level class, for example, or for your youngest kids, or when do you start kind of scaffolding these types of independent assignments? When does that come in? And Jody, will come to you first and then Erin next.
Well, scaffolding is a good word for it, because I do have an intro class, but it's made up of freshmen through seniors. So it's not easy because some of the freshmen can't handle that. They need to be spoon fed. And my goal is to lay the foundation in the intro class. So we find different ways so I'll give them a project and give them some guidance, but really let them have their creative control, but keeping in those marketing skills. So keep in mind, today we did graphic design. So I just said, you're making a movie poster, but keep in mind these principles of design. Think about what your client would want or what's our target audience. So then I find ways to incorporate those marketing terms and concepts and have them thinking about it, so that by the time they get through second, third, fourth level, that they're prepared, they know the terminology, and they know the plan and the procedure for accomplishing a project.
I like that. And I think incorporating the vocabulary, I know that that's not something that's super sexy, right, to be able to talk about, but is so important for building that foundation so that we can scaffold up from there. I really appreciate that, Jody. Erin, any additional thoughts from you on that?
So I'm a little bit different. My expectations are at the same high level, whether you're an intro class or I've had you for 3 or 4 years. I set the bar high right from the beginning. And I've always been lucky enough that the majority of the kids, they reach it. The kids in general will go as far as you tell them they can. Sometimes you have to push them a little bit. Sometimes it's a little more, we'll spend more time on fixing mindset to get them where I want them. I set the bar high with the expectation of knowing that there's going to be instances where I do have to backtrack a little bit. Like I said, work on that mindset, work on that confidence that they're lacking. But at the end of the day, they're always right where I want them to be. So
I appreciate that. And I appreciate that you called out the mindset because I think a lot of what students struggle with, I mean, we're talking about students in a post-COVID world. It's that confidence to be able to show their skills or to put themselves out there creatively as well as socially. And so being able to create a situation in which they feel comfortable to do that is not easy. I think that it does take foresight and it does take a lot of effort to be able to create that environment where students feel like they can thrive and are willing to stretch themselves. And with that in mind, I know we want to give people some kind of tactical things to walk away with. So thinking about the resources to be able to create this environment and to help students be prepared for these fields. Jenny, will come to you first, but what are the things that you're leaning on in your classroom to get students ready, not just necessarily for the certification exams that we've talked about, but also just for working in these fields, the creative and marketing areas?
Right. So for as far as getting them ready, right? We have from ninth grade all the way through 12th grade. So it's a 4-year program that we have in the design pathway. And most of our pathways here at our school are, so we have like the cybersecurity pathway, the culinary pathway, and different the medical pathways. And so it's different areas of study. So although I teach graphic design, we have all of these, different tools that we use in all of our programs because there's 2 of us that lead all those teams. And the other one, she teaches cybersecurity. And then we have all the phlebotomy programs, the culinary. So it's like 14 different programs at our school, and each of us use different tools. We partner. So the first part of the tool, besides the academic tools that we use, is really trying to gain that real world experience and business partners that we can partner with. So I believe, Jody and Aaron does the same, where we bring in, we have Osceola Arts, Osceola County, where we have the city of St. Cloud within Osceola County and city of Kissimmee. So we do a lot of partnerships and work. Sorry, that's our bell. So if you hear the little weird music. And then as far as from a academic standpoint, we have LearnKey, Geometrics, the Brain Buffet. Those are all things that we use to prep for the exams. However, we take those tools and incorporate them into real world experiences. Because, sometimes that material could be a little bit dry. So how can we take it and then we get them in there? Okay, this is how you apply it. This is how you do it. This is how you apply it. And then that's kind of, how we incorporate some of those things. So using real world experiences with the academic tools.
I
And a
appreciate that.
whole lot of other things mixed in there.
Yeah. And a lot of other things that we could spend probably the whole hour just
nitty-gritty things
discussing.
that you guys know
Yes.
what we mean.
Yes, for sure. Aaron, any thoughts from you? I think it'll be good, right, to have the full spectrum here to talk about different tools because we might all be using something different. So, Aaron, any thoughts from you and your
yeah,
classroom?
so depending on the class, so for my marketing and management class, I absolutely love the ESB curriculum from Certiport. My class last semester was the first class in the state of Tennessee to get through the curriculum and then pass industry certification. It was just put on the Tennessee list this year, so I jumped right on it. So like I said, the curriculum through Geometrics for the practice testing, and then the ESB exam was awesome. For my coding and my cybersecurity side, I lean on Cisco and CodeHS. Those are probably my 2 biggest resources. And then coming in third would be Kira, just because the district has a license to Kira, and they have some pretty good curriculum on there. That's my bell, sorry. They have some pretty good curriculum on there. It's a little bit, I use it more for my lower level kids, to where the Cisco and the CodeHS is for my kids that have been doing it for 3 or 4 years. But all of them are great resources. And then anything Microsoft based, I love the MSI and more solutions, and then the Geometrics for the practice exams for the MOS, for the MOS bundles.
Love that. Thank you. We've got almost the full portfolio represented here. Jody, any additional resources that you wanted to call out?
Well, yeah, I'm a real believer that the students are learning while they're doing these projects. So they don't even realize what they're learning as they do it. We do use geometrics to prep for the tests. But I kind of, I always tell the students, I break the test, I do the geometrics, I figure out, and just in our whatever project, I'll aim for some objectives and embed that into the project so that when we do get to test prep, it's like, oh, I already know all this stuff. We do use Adobe Express, so we've been using that for graphic design and a little bit of editing as a stage one to get us to the Adobe Premiere editor. And I know there was a question in the chat about AI. And copyright issues apply to everything in marketing. So, we make sure that we talk about copyright and public domain and those type of legal issues early, so that that's always embedded into all the projects that they do. And we talk about AI, and there's ways of using it as a graphic designer as well for editing while still respecting copyright. So I think my tools is just sort of to embed it seamlessly as much as I can, so that students don't even realize that they're learning the stuff that they need to know.
Sneaky learning. Jody's all about that sneaky learning, just sneaking it all in there as much as she can. I love that. And I wanted to build Jody a little bit more. I saw that question about AI as well in the chat. How are we helping? It's such a new thing. So I really think that the teachers and you guys that we're working with right now are kind of having to pave the trail for what this looks like going forward. How are you helping students understand how AI will play into their creative and marketing careers? Because I think it's very different, right, than even just a couple years ago, the tools that are available.
And AI is actually on one of the certification, on geometric study guides. So I know I had to hit it. And having taught so long, the hard part is I'm constantly having to learn new things, and whatever the post TikTok thing is going to be, then I now have to learn a new social media app. And AI, and I tell that to students because that's the truth. And no matter what you learn today, 20 years from now, it'll be something completely different. And your ability to learn, we talked about tools, learn and adapt is very important in this field. So with AI, I know for Adobe Express, they have some great projects on there that you don't even have to create. They're just automatically a template that you can give to your students. And then we use that as a way to talk about the use of AI in graphic design and the ethical implications of it as well. And they realize it's not as good as everyone thinks it is. I think our students are using ChatGPT and they're using it in bad ways, but there's ways to do it where you're using it for creative purposes, but still it doesn't, I'm old school, and I think the creative skills are still important from scratch. So it's good to just at least introduce them to it and see the process, and then get them thinking about their own thoughts and moral implications of it.
Yeah, agreed. I love that. Erin, any additional thoughts from you as far as AI that your students are leveraging, or how you're talking about it with your kids?
I use it more as I don't know how to explain it, as a work against. So let's use it, see what we can find that's wrong. Or you create your project, now let's compare it to what AI creates. And more of a comparison tool. As far as coding, let's ask it to write a code to produce something. And then when it doesn't work, now I want you to go in and fix it. I want you to tell me what it did wrong. So they get all excited. Oh, I don't have to write, I don't have to write these, 50 lines of code. I'm going to get, AI to do it. But a lot of times it's not correct, or it doesn't give exactly what I'm looking for. So then you have to go in, like I've given you the end result. You now have to work backwards and figure out where it went wrong. And same thing with, the marketing and management. If we're designing a logo or putting together like a mini marketing plan, I want you to do it first. And now let's, plug it into AI and see what the differences are. See if maybe it can help you restate something, you couldn't quite get the words together. So let's use it for that. Or, you know what you want it to look like, but you're not a good artist. So at that point, you can explain what you want it to look like, and then it'll give you an idea. And then I still make you redo it. But now that you have the picture to go off of, So it's more of a compare and contrast and work backwards through it once it makes, when it does make a mistake.
Yeah. I think what I love that both of you have discussed so far is that we're not afraid to immerse into it, right? We're leaning into it because it's going to be there. It's already in the field. So how can we use it effectively and ethically, to Jody's point a little bit earlier? I I in marketing use AI relatively frequently and almost as like a repurposing tool, to Erin's point as well, that we have this opportunity to streamline processes with the use of AI, that we're able to have it give us kind of that first draft and then we can boost things from there. But almost always, and I love that you've both called this out, it's not going to give me the final deliverable that I want. We still need that human touch and that human element. And so, leveraging AI in the classroom is not something that we should be afraid of, but is something that we can use as an additional tool to the other resources that we've mentioned as well. Jenny, did you have any additional thoughts about AI using either with your graphic design or your marketing students?
Um, I, well, we've embraced it, but it's just to a certain extent because, then they try different things and they try different ways to do things and it might not work out. I was just actually having a conversation with one of my juniors this morning and she is working, we got her an internship at a local agency here in town. And, we were discussing some of the things and projects that they're doing. And, it's not always Adobe that they're using. They might be using Adobe Express or there's different, web format things that they're using. And she's so fascinated to be learning of how they're using AI in the real world, and those are conversations that spark something else. And then, that sparked a whole discussion in class this morning. So like that was really interesting to hear it from the student perspective versus me just kind of saying, hey, try this picture out. It's going to look cool, but then it doesn't work out for them. So I think we really, and I think everybody's sentiments here is try it. They have to do it. This is where we're going. One of the things that our school adopted as a school and it's I don't know if everybody uses Khan Academy as well, because those are all different tools. We all use different tools, but it's something that we tried in CTE, but we're not sure if it's something we're gonna, because we obviously have our AI within the certifications and different things that we do. But it's really cool where it incorporates it into math and English and even the writing portions of our classes, and you can have a conversation with an AI tool and it teaches you how to respond. And it's something where our school is actually piloting collectively. So it also integrates CTE with our certifications with the core classes, which I thought was pretty cool with our school piloting this program. So I don't know if it's something that we're going to adopt for next year permanently, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think we're all just testing the waters at this point, right? Seeing what works, seeing what doesn't, and having that flexibility to test things out, just like we're asking our students, right, to try different and new things. And to that point, I think leveraging AI is a part of kind of the projects that we're asking students to use, right? Or there's other tools and other initiatives that we're having students focus on. What are some of the projects that you've seen have worked really well in your classroom as far as preparing students for these marketing and career roles? And Jenny, will come to you first. What are the projects that you find most effective in helping your students learn these skills?
Um, we do an array because I'm huge on project-based learning. I feel like it's how we're successful with the certifications, right? Because the students today just they don't want to do versus sit and just kind of do a test, right? And so being able to apply what they're learning in the software. So some of the big projects that we do is branding, or brand identity, where we start a project from start to finish. And so it kind of starts in level 1 because I have two other teachers that work with me. And so the three of us, we get together. There's really no difference. We all know what each other teaches. And it really kind of works well. And I'm probably saying this from a perspective, it was just me 7 years ago. And then we brought in more teachers, right? So it's a process. And so for the other educators out there, reach out when you have questions, because it's a process to kind of go through. And then we build those on those projects, right? So branding, brand identity, an entire marketing brand, which rolls into the social media strategy. It also works in where we, the more advanced, and this starts kind of on level 2, 3, and 4, where they really understand the target audience, and being able to understand what that customer journey is going to be like. So then when they start running the agency, they really have a full thought process of what that's going to look like. And that applies in every single project-based work that we do. So whether it be a movie poster with a particular artist style, or it be in a corporate identity package, or it be in a full marketing campaign, or it be for the city of St. Cloud or the city of Kissimmee, or work that we're doing within the community, it translates into everything that we're doing as a whole. So they understand the big picture, but how do they break it down into steps? And that's how we approach it.
I like that. And I think that that foundation, going back to some of the comments that Jody made earlier as well, we have to be able to have students understand the vocabulary, understand that marketing pathway to be able to design and create things that are actually going to be able to be leveraged, right, in the real world. So I think that that's fantastic. Erin, any of the projects that you've created that have worked really well with your students for preparing them for these types of job roles?
So with both FBLA and DECA, both of them have huge, the business and marketing aspects to them. I'm not one that's ever been afraid to reach out to companies and businesses, for help, or, you want to come in as a guest speaker, anything at all. So we have a marketing firm here in Crossville that works with Boeing, that works with a couple of luxury jet, builders, and they have been huge. So any of my kids that want to compete in something marketing related, I actually will send them over to their office, and I mean they'll spend the entire day. Once the kids have a rough draft and kind of an idea where they want to go, they'll sit down with their marketing geniuses over there, and go through and redesign, revamp, make it what the kids see in their head. So having access to them, I've got lots of other businesses that come in as guest speakers. Anything I can do to bring the outside world in, and then we go on field trips all the time. So anything I can do to take my kids out of the classroom and go to a business or a corporation or somewhere where they can see the behind the scenes, where I'm all about it. And it's crazy, as a parent, you always say, well, my kid listens to you and not me. It's the same thing with our students. You can tell my students the same exact thing that I told them 5 minutes ago, and they'll get it because you told them. But I say it and it'll go in one ear and out the other. So anytime I can have somebody, come in and reinforce, and like I said, bring that outside world in, or bring our world outside, it's a huge help.
It's trust but verify, right? They trust you. They just want to hear it also from someone else.
Absolutely.
As a parent, I really appreciate that. I think that rings very true. Jody, any additional thoughts or projects that you've been working on with your students that you found to be very effective?
Well, we do a similar branding that Jenny talked about, start to finish. So that one's good. We do commercials with the community. And there was a question in the chat about like internships. I really recommend getting in touch with someone from the Chamber of Commerce in your community, because these businesses just love working with high schoolers, and it does give them that experience that we want them to have. And then we do product commercials. And hopefully then by that end, then the certification test is easy, because they've learned all of the skills to get them to that point. We also partner with our chamber, our Palos Heights, it's a community access cable channel. So, and I, like Erin says, I love field trips. So we've gone to baseball games where we could see the media in the booth and see what they're doing, and just giving them some ideas beyond the classroom, of what is out there and what the thousands of careers in marketing really entail.
I appreciate that. I think I was talking to my husband about this the other day, and he works in medicine, so he has no connection to marketing. But it's been very interesting to see my husband's role. It's very traditional, right? We have kids who grow up saying, I want to be a doctor someday. But then my career, I have never talked to someone who's, younger than in high school who has any aspirations to go into marketing, because I think it's just not something that we address very often. And so being able to expose kids to non-traditional, right, careers and all of these pathways that are available to them is such an important way to help them see how their skills can translate into an actual job in the future, right? A lot of students might think, I'm not good at science or math. What's a job that's going to work for me? So being able to have CTE classes or these courses at the collegiate level as well, that helps students see, you're a storyteller, you're a creative thinker. All of these jobs are going to be great fits for you. So I love that you guys are bringing the classroom, expanding those walls, right? Helping them see what's out there for them. I wanted to wrap up, and we have quite a few questions that have been dropped into the chat that I want to make sure we have a chance to address, but just any final thoughts or advice that you want to share with those who are listening. And Jody, will come to you first, and then we'll do kind of a round robin.
Well, I feel like that I'm fairly new to this certification process, so I love ideas from other teachers on how they're doing it. I've been teaching a long time, but actually achieving certification is really just a couple years, or just a couple years old on that. So there's a lot to learn, and there's so much resources that Adobe, for instance, educators online provides, that it's amazing. And the projects that I've implemented in the last few years, I think my advice would just be to network with other teachers like us, and find those ideas and try them. And they don't work, but it is fun to see kids like eyes light up when they start working on projects and start to see the concepts, become a reality.
Love that. And the education exchange, I can definitely second that. There's so many amazing resources that Adobe especially has put out for teachers to be able to leverage in the classroom. Wonderful. Jenny, any thoughts or final pieces of advice from you?
I think that you guys are all amazing. And keep doing what you're doing. I had my email in there, but I think one of the things that our students, and I'll leave you with this, is our students love when we bring that real world, you know, attention to things, and how it relates to them. Because one of the first things out of there, well, what's in it for me? Like, like what do I get out of this? And it's just a mentality of our students today. And I think Jody mentioned this earlier, is really keeping up to date, because in what we teach and what we do, if we're not giving them the most updated information and keeping ourselves up to date, then because this industry is always moving. Anything with Adobe, I mean, in 2 weeks it might be different from what we gave them now. So I think the fundamentals are there, but I think as an educator and just a lifelong learner, as we all are, is really keeping yourself up there, and really integrating. I'm gonna leave you with this because I'll talk about it at Certified 2025, y'all. um, is bringing those soft skills into everything that you do, because if they don't show up to work on time, then how are you gonna keep that job? Showing up on time is a big deal. Deadlines, you got to meet your deadlines. All those parts of soft skills that they need to know. And those are two big things that I harp on. Your class time is my job, right? You get here on time to your job, else 3 times and you're out, you're fired. I'm keeping track. So those are things that, it hits home for them when they see that kind of thing. So those are my final thoughts.
Love that, Jenny. Thank you. I can't imagine you firing students, but curious what that process looks like. We'll have to talk about that on a separate call. Erin, any final thoughts from you on these skills and preparing students for these marketing and creative futures?
Um, I always fall back on, it's relationship, relationship, relationship. If a kid believes in you and you can get them to believe in themselves, like they're unstoppable. And I think, if that's always been my first focus is developing that mindset in them. Because when you sit down at first and they see the curriculum for like entrepreneurship and small business, and it looks daunting and it's terrifying to a kid who doesn't have that motivation. But once they believe that they can get through it, and then they get through it, and then they pass the test, and it's night and day difference between kid A and then that kid now. So it's all relationship, relationship, relationship. And then I always ask my kids, like I include them in probably 90% of like classroom decisions that go on here, like as far as what we're going to use. This is our end game. Now let's figure out how you want to get there. And that really helps with the buy-in for the class. They now feel like they own a part of it, so there's some pride in that. They hold each other accountable. If somebody slips up or somebody's acting like a fool, my kids will shut each other down. I don't have to, because they know that you can't act that way and still get to where we want to be. I said that ownership and that relationship and that accountability. So it doesn't really matter what you teach, whether it's CTE or a core class or whatever it is. And to me, that's probably my biggest piece of advice is take the time to build those relationships first.
I think that's huge. And what a great note to finish on, focusing on the relationships with those students. And to your point, Aaron, that we'll be surprised what they're able to accomplish when they have someone who believes in them. So I think that that's wonderful. Well, I would say that let's wrap up, but we have so many questions. It's been a very active chat. So I want to make sure that we have time to address some of those as well. The first one that came in, and any of our panelists, if you have thoughts about this, I would be happy to hear it. Does anyone offer a marketing program online to high school students? If yes, any ideas for how to incorporate hands-on or real-world projects for an online program? And if we have no thoughts about this, we can also take that one offline. We have
you can
our
demo.
Certiport territory managers who can address those types of balances, who are working with
They
online
can
schools as
demo,
well.
you could demo online or incorporate videos into your online course. Like I do that with, courses that I teach online, not at the high school level, but at the college level. And sometimes I would just do a Zoom and record it, show them how to do things, so that could be a way to bring it in. And of course, incorporate those tools into your learning management system.
Mhm.
And I know with Microsoft, there's some really good resources on YouTube. Like Excel is Fun is one of the ones I always fall back on for Excel. I know that there are similar things for marketing. I'm not sure if it's a curriculum, but if it's something that you're just looking to learn or use as a tool, I know that there are some really great resources on YouTube that deal with marketing.
Love that. Okay, so this is a question, Jenny, that I think you'll be able to answer. Interested to hear how certification is being incorporated into higher ed, or how it can be incorporated into a higher education classroom.
So for us, at the college level, I don't do the certifications there, but we found a way for every student who's coming out of our program here at the high school. We rewrote, so it took me 8 months to develop a new college articulation for our district. And it's used here in Osceola County and in Orange County because I'm in Central Florida. And so what we did was there's specific criterias that they have to do to earn specific college credits. And so if the student is with us for 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years, and instead of doing the final exams at the college, we do the certification as part of that. So the certification exam encompasses like that learning outcome, or the outlines for the certification encompasses everything that's on the final exam. So we do the Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, Adobe products, And then now we recently incorporated business, so entrepreneurship, business, so the master business certification, and then also project management. So all of that is wrapped into the college articulation for the students to actually earn their college credits through our program. I know a couple years ago at Certified, there was the University of Miami actually does certifications at the university. So it's just, I'm trying to inch by inch kind of incorporate it and see how we could pull it into the college at Valencia. But personally, that's how we do it here from the high school to the college.
So I will say as well, just building on that a little bit, if this is something that we have people listening who work in the higher education space and you're interested in incorporating certification into your curriculum, we do have some representatives that you can connect with that can walk you through what that process is going to look like. So feel free to reach out. We'll send of course, the recording, and you can just respond directly to that email, and we'll make sure to get you the information that you need and connect you with your representative. Last one that I wanted to address is favorite learning product. So we've highlighted, obviously, I think several. But if you had to recommend a learning product for someone who maybe isn't leveraging one at the moment, what would be the one that you would recommend? And Aaron, we'll come to you first.
Gosh, that's hard. It really depends on what the class is and your student base. Like there's some that I've worked with that kids that want to run on their own are great. But then there's others where you have to be there, step by step by step. So I guess just from recent experience, for the entrepreneurship and small business, I used the MSI course and then the geometrics for practice testing. So those two things for that course specifically were phenomenal. They tied right into the exam. They were easy to understand. The kids, I don't want to say enjoyed working through them, but they didn't fight too hard. But they learned. So it wasn't just learn enough to take the test and pass it. It was they actually learned. Like I can have conversations and throw curveballs at them, and they can answer, and they can problem solve, and they can give me solutions without being spoon fed. With using those two tools.
Perfect. Jody, any additional thoughts? MSI has been highlighted. Do you use one that you would recommend?
Well, we use geometrics,
Okay.
and the nice fairly new thing about geometrics is the study guide feature, so a student takes a practice test, then it knows which ones they got wrong, and then it customizes the test for them to take it again, but only focusing on the things that they missed the first time, which has been very helpful. We've started doing, no one has been certified in Meta yet here, but like I said, we're piloting it, and that one's kind of a beast. So geometrics we've been relying really heavily on because I don't really know it myself in order to teach it. And it's different than anything else because it's something that students aren't already exposed to, the business side of Facebook. So we've been relying pretty heavily on geometrics to kind of train us together to get ready for that test. But I do think if you use it right, geometrics can be a nice, powerful tool to supplement what you're already teaching them in the classroom.
I love that, supplementing. I know that we have a lot of teachers who are trying to figure out where to plug it in and where that makes sense. So it's a supplement, right, to everything that you're already doing, all the projects and the learning opportunities that you have there. That's wonderful. Jenny, any final recommendations that you want to put your endorsement on as far as learning products?
As far as learning products that we use, I have a tendency to lean towards LearnKey, but we also it works together with geometrics. And my design one teachers love Brain Buffet, because it incorporates the project-based learning into it. So that's a couple of things that we've used. And then for project management, every year for the last 3 years since I've done it, we've used MSI, I've used Brain Buffet, and we've used, so because sometimes you just want to see what's out there and what would use or what would the students respond to best. So I think I try to be more student centered when it comes to the learning process with the products we use, based on just the feedback and listening to the kids and what they like and what they don't like, because we're doing these work with them, and I want them to have the best experience possible. So I just don't want to force something down their throat. So every year I kind of change up what we do. I might not use the same thing that we used previous year when it comes to certification. So my best advice there, I guess, would be experience it, try it, let your kids experience it, and then, see what works best for you.
And to that point, thank you, Jenny, for calling that out. To that point, if you are interested in testing out any of these learning products that we've mentioned, or even the certification exams, or have questions, I saw a couple questions about how long should I structure my course to be able to teach this certification? We have people who can offer you vouchers or give you access to be able to test it out for yourself, so you can see, based on the students that I work with, this is going to work or this is not going to work. So we want to make sure that you have the opportunity to find a resource that's going to work the best for you and for your learners. So we'll make sure to put you in contact if you want to reach out to get more information about that. So thank you everyone for the insightful questions and the wonderful responses. Before we wrap up, I just wanted to call out a couple quick things. First is that Certified Academy, for those who maybe aren't aware, and Jenny did call it out, this is the build up program for our annual educators conference that we hold every year in person. This year we're going to be in Dallas, Texas, June 16th through the 18th. So if you're looking to continue this conversation, or to Jody's point from earlier, just educators who teach the same types of courses that you do, this is a great opportunity to do that. So visit certified.certiport.com to get more information about the conference that we'll be having this year, 2025. The second announcement is that this is a series that we're running for the entire year for all of 2025. So next month, we'll be hosting a panel discussion about empowering students of color with digital skills. We want to be able to celebrate Black History Month and talk about how to get students into these technical fields, overcome some of those racial barriers that we've seen historically be in place. So we would encourage you to register for and attend that session with us next month in February. So it'll be the last week of February. I'm going to go ahead and drop this link into the chat. So if you wanted to register for that one, should be a very lively discussion similar to the one that we've had today. We look forward to seeing all of you there with us. If you have any questions, like I said, we'll be sending out the recording to this a little bit either later today or later this week. Please feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to answer any questions that you have. Just respond to that email with the recording link, and we'll make sure to put you in touch with someone who can help you. So thank you everyone for being here with us today. We're so grateful that you spent part of your day learning with us. Any questions, any concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out. We're happy to have you. So thank you everyone. Have a great rest of your day.